Okay.
Okay, now Bernie. Okay, all righty. Thank you, and welcome to Let's Talk About It with Brenda Coles. Bernadette. I got my special co-host Bernadette Lark with me today. We got a lot we're gonna talk about. Bernadette, are you ready? Okay, we're gonna hold on for Bernie to come on up. She's gonna come on up, but I want to just welcome everybody. Thank you, and thank you being patient. I did not realize until just a few minutes ago that I wasn't live at 2 o'clock. So there was a button or two that I missed. So this is still brand new. I'm still working on it. My son has came in and got me fixed up. So hey Bernadette, hey. So we're gonna talk about. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot. Definitely Bernadette is going to be co-hosting with me. That's something when she gets ready, she's going to come on back in. So we're going to talk about a few. We're going to talk about a few things that's very important. Just want to remind everybody. First of all, let me first start by thanking you. Thank you. You could have been anywhere else today, but you decided to join me today here with Let's Talk About It with Brenda Coles on this Memorial Day weekend. But I do understand there's some families that's also trying to watch in, and I am so glad to see that. We got some great people that also supports this, supports up. I look at it like this. I've always said, I'm looking to, I don't care if I reach one family. It's about being able to just give you the information that you need. We got a lot that's going on in our country today. First of all, I want to start off with one thing that I think is very important. I want everybody to understand. There was a bill that passed, and because it's a holiday, a lot of people sometimes don't pay any attention to what's going on that national platform that's going to affect us. There was a bill that was passed. Bernadette, when you get ready, I want you to come on in. We're gonna get started on what we're gonna talk about. But there was a bill that was passed by the Senate in the wee hours of the morning that is really going to affect all of us, specifically low-income families. And I just want to give you just a little bit of it. For those of you that don't know, please pass it on to your loved ones and people that you may know that that's going to be great. We all going to be greatly affected. I don't care who you are. We all going to be greatly affected in some form or fashion. I am not going to call the bill what they want to call it. I'm just going to call it an ugly devil bill people like Donald Trump don't give a damn about anybody except himself and his family, or people that want to suck up to him. Let's put it that way. But first of all, this bill was passed by the Senate, and it is going to have major cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, which is food stamps, federal employees, retirement, Social Security. So I think everybody needs to be very clear on that. He gave a tax break, once again, like he did in his first term, to the 1%ers in this country that are billionaires. And once again, they won't have to pay taxes on those $1 million yachts or those $1 million planes that they fly. But then yet, that's going to get passed right back down to the middle class and the poor people, okay, in this country. So one of the things that he also did, they have in there is, you hear about it because it was something that started out in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is one of the states that have the most when it comes to the tips, but there's no tax on tips and also overtime. But let me be very clear to somebody that does taxes and no taxes. Don't think or don't ask the question next year when you're going to have to pay back. Okay, when you paying back the federal government and you paying back the state, don't ask why. All right, because I'm just telling you why. Because you can't lower or take away something and taxes and get it all back throughout the years. See, this is what people don't understand. If you getting it all back in your paycheck and you ain't paid none to your state, that's funding your roads, your schools, your bridges, and I mean all these major projects throughout your state, and you ain't paying no taxes on that. All right? So guess what? They're going to take it back from you at the end of the year. They're going to tell you, basically, you saying, hey, we gave it to you already, and then we gave you more than that. So this is what you owe us. So when you have to pay back, don't ask why. Okay? So it's not going to benefit you. It's only going to hurt you. All right. Medicaid. Medicaid, you will get cuts, and that's going to affect, of course, low-income people, elderly, and disabled Americans. That's who's going to affect. SNAP, that is your SNAP benefits, or your and it says the bill proposes changes to SNAP eligibility and benefits, which can impact access to food assistance for millions of low-income individuals and families. Federal employee retirement system. This bill includes measures that could reduce retirement benefits for federal employees and potentially impact their ability to retire. So you go ahead and work your 30 years, 40 years, or more, and you still can't retire because you can't pay your bills. Okay, so that's what he's doing. All right, Social Security. All right. The proposed changes could impact the solvency of Social Security trust funds, potentially hastening their solvency date. In other words, they can't pay you because that's a debtor. So they can't pay you. All right. So I want to let you all know that. So please, 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 we got to understand what's going on right now. All right. Virginia is in a hot contested race for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general. Virginia. The Virginia, Lord have mercy, Attorney General. That's right, Virginia Attorney General, which is the highest position in the state. Now, I have always said that, in my opinion, the Attorney General for the state of Virginia or any state is probably more important than the governor. Why? Because they're over all criminal justice. And as somebody that worked in the civil rights field and dealing with the criminal justice system as much as I do, and even Bernadette, that is an area in which if you don't have the right person in that position, then I'm gonna use the word that Elijah used. You may be cooked. And trust me, these young people, they start using these words. Elijah said, "Oh, mama, you may be cooked." So we used to talk about my computer may be gone. That's why I couldn't get live. So Bernadette is here with me. So we're gonna get started on something. Bernadette, hey sweetheart, how you doing? It's always good to see your beautiful face. Now, I do want to give some real quick dates, Bernie, for people to understand that. Please, please, please. And we got an election coming up. Don't sleep. We don't have time to sleep. We got to get out here and we got to vote. We really do. And I'm going to give you real quickly just some information on the dates. Now, May 2nd, early in-person voting began already. May 27th, deadline to register to vote. After this, you can same-day register and cast a provisional ballot. June 6th, my mom's birthday, is the last day to request an absentee ballot. June 14th is the last day of early in-person voting. And then June 17th is primary election day. So we certainly, let me explain something. The primaries is just as important as a national election. A lot of people don't understand that part. Please don't think that the primaries is not important, because the primaries is extremely, extremely important. Why? Because we got, a perfect example, we got 6 people running for lieutenant governor. Okay? You got 6 people running for lieutenant governor. Well, if you don't go out and vote in the primary, then the person that you may want in or that needs to be in that position, they're not going to get in. So please go ahead and get that in. The other thing, I want to remind you all, please, we got to understand we got to have to vote our interest. Please stop. Please stop. Don't sit at home like millions did during the election with Kamala Harris. And she did not lose by that many votes after running a 107-day campaign. Please don't sit on the sideline. We can't do that any longer. We have to vote our interest. Look at what has happened to this country in a little bit over 100 days since Donald Trump has been in office. It's already we already going into a recession. It's already a disaster. Well, guess what? If we don't start voting our interest and get the right people back in office, and I'm not talking about those MAGA Republicans either. I'm talking about the Democrats. If we don't keep that trajectory, guess what? he will take over this state. Virginia is an extremely important state. Don't think that it's not, because it is. It's extremely important. So we need to make sure that Virginia turns blue, stays blue. The other thing, Bernadette, I'm bringing you in because what I want to mention about this part is that people that's in your districts, we got to hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. And I say that because, whenever you go into a courtroom, you can go in at any time the open public court, you can walk in at any given time. Sit down, listen, watch what's going on in these cases. The case of Tyler Chase Butler had been in the media. I've read a lot of the stuff on the Facebook. Good God, it's millions and millions and millions of people that have been talking about this case up in Spotsylvania County. And if anybody knows Spotsylvania County, that racist county, that history of that racist county, and everybody up there that's sitting on a bench or got anything to say about our black bodies, let me be very clear on that. But in this particular case, with Tyler Chase Butler, and let me explain something. You all may know this case as, I believe they call it the ding dong ditch. Stop that. Don't allow them to continue to label us. Okay, you got to understand about changing the narrative. But Bernadette and I decided we wanted to go and sit in and listen in on that case as spectators, and that's what we did. So we're going to talk about some truth and some real truths that went on in this particular, what we heard with our own ears. So Bernadette, let's get on that. I'm gonna let you start with the fact that, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I was sick of the fact that this young man is still sitting in jail after what I know I heard in this particular case. So I want to get you started on this case that we sit in and listen in to on last week.
Well, first, I apologize to your viewers and listeners that I will be off screen because I am using my phone today. I know wasn't scheduled for me, but I showed up because of an urgency. And I want to commemorate this May 25th as the 5th year of George Floyd's death. And so many other things that are happening. Of course, as that advocate for criminal justice and community advocate, we know that there's a lot happening today in commemoration of George Floyd, and we dare not pause as a moment of silence as we too commemorate the death of George Floyd. So all of your listeners, anybody out there, if you all don't mind, let's just do a pause, a moment of silence to honor May 25th as the 5th year for George Floyd. And so for all of you out there listening, I know what Ms. Coles kind of handed to me to speak a little bit about what I experienced as a individual inside of the courtroom there in Spotsylvania County. But more deeply concerning is the justice system itself, and how what I saw was a mirror to a broken system. As I go back and think about May 25th, 2020, a moment that was captured live on video by a brave young individual. Also, Ms. Coles, you've lifted up me and my son several times on your Let's Talk About It podcast, and I thank you so much. As 8+ million viewers watched the video that I too recorded, similar to that brave young lady back on May 25th, capturing the death of George Floyd. I shared my video, I went public, and I will say that as Anton's mom, which is my son, why this day matters to me is because May 25th is not just a date on the calendar. It's, as I called out, a mirror to a broken justice system. It's a day that George Floyd's life was stolen in plain sight. And the world was forced to see a reality of what families like mine right here in 2025 went through, when there is an abuse of power, I am seeing that there's a constant threat of being devalued, a constant threat of being dismissed, a constant threat of being destroyed simply because of the color of our skin. I know I'm supposed to be talking about what I witnessed in court with Tyler Butler. However, there's a more prominent thing I can speak to, and that is, I believe his mother was present, if I'm not mistaken, as a fact. And I'm sitting there also as a mother, and you're there as a mother. And as I look around the courtroom, which was crowded, I'm sure there were a lot of mothers in that room. So, of course, not dismissing fathers or dads or brothers, sisters, cousin, husband, wives. I'm a mom of color, so I have Black children of color, and that is what I'm speaking to today. And so I watch how George Floyd's life, yes, speaking about commemorating that day, was literally snatched unlawfully. But that day, as well as this day, and then that day in court in Spotsylvania County, and that day, March 18th, on the property of my school, mind you, private property. All of these things are nothing more than constant reminders to us that what? Our fight is not over. And as we honor George Floyd, I stand with every mother who has cried out for justice. I stand with every mother to declare that our sons' lives matter. And what we do as mothers of color, and so if Tyler Butler's mom or family are listening, and all you out there, remember, we only resist with our voices. We raise them in resistance, because silence is not an option, and neither is forgetting. And so, Ms. Coles, as you echoed some very important dates, I hope your listeners and viewers wrote them down. Primary election is going to happen June 17th in the state of Virginia. Please know that. Register. You have to register by May 27th. And I know that because I am the co-lead and program director and lead organizer at Roanoke Democracy Center. So we uplift Center for Common Ground. The powerful work of Andrea Miller, powerful work. She was featured on The View and honored by that show, because this organization, in collaboration, put out millions of calls and postcards and voter engagement reminders how important what you lifted up today on your show is. Early voting, May 2nd through June 14th. Let's write this stuff down, people, because one of the things a lot of people don't know, those judges that we face in the courtroom are put there by the people we elect. So it's not a mystery. Yeah. You probably just didn't know that part of the system. So this conversation today should be very enlightening, very informative, as we commemorate the 5th anniversary of a horrific thing captured on video on May 25th, 2020, the death of George Floyd. We shall never forget. But what we do is we use our voices as tools to push forward for needed change. And you all know my slogan, stop saying it's better, because better has never meant good. And we can't stop until things are good for all, not some. And so also, Ms. Coles, I want your viewers and listeners to know you can vote by mail as long as it's requested by the deadline of June 6th, 2025, which is also my birthday. I do share a birthday with Ms. Coles' mom, by 5 p.m. So just remember those important dates. Remember our general election is November 4th, 2025. Remember to register by October 14th, 2025. Remember early voting, September 19th through November 1st, 2025. And remember, for the general election, you can vote by mail by October 24th, 2025. These are days that I know like the back of my hand, kind of like Ms. Coles recited them. Because the one way, I didn't say the only way, and this is where people get confused when they don't listen. I said one way. I did not say the only way, but one sure way to bring about change. We must vote. Vote your power. Vote your voice. Election day, polls open at 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. There is also, for some people that don't know, same-day registration available if you're using a provisional ballot, which will be required. So don't turn away for any reason. So much is happening. But when I get back to uplifting, and Ms. Coles, you know you can cut me off at any time because I am on a roll.
No, you go right
Uplifting
ahead.
how we honor and commemorate May 25th, which is today. Today is May 25th. And the world saw firsthand overwhelming evidence. Yet, Derek Chauvin and those actors involved were not immediately prosecuted. I have to call that out. And so what does that mean? That means this is a pattern of a system and a culture where white individuals can often escape accountability, even when it harms a Black person and is clearly devastating. It is what it is. We are here having to defend ourselves, of course, with our brothers and sisters standing armed of all colors. We are here having to survive. We are here having to declare our mere existence as equal. And so, yes, this current justice system reeks, as Ms. Coles called out, of discrimination. And it's a stench of injustice. It is suffocating. And all we can do about it is demand change. So I did have to uplift the case of my son as a mother. I did have to call out the similar patterns that I saw in my son's case with what happened with George Floyd. Let's look at that. There is video evidence of Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck for over 9 minutes, and charges were not immediately filed. There's initial police reports that lie, and some would say, no, it was just a mischaracterization. It was just a mere retraction. No, it's still a lie. Claiming what? We know that George Floyd died of a medical incident. And such a delay in prosecuting only reflected a pattern of prosecutorial discretion favoring police, especially when the victim is Black. Now, why did I want that comment to segue into what I said in court, which was an open public process, and I heard with my own 2 ears some very disturbing things that I want to call out in reference to Tyler Butler's case that, as you pointed out, millions have been speaking about. Some things that are really troubling, and I know we have such a limited amount of time, but some things that are really troubling to me is how, and I mean how could this happen? Where I heard one of the lawyers, and I have some things that I wrote down in court for record, if you don't mind, that there was an established threat. Now, the world hadn't heard that. And actually, unless people listen to this podcast, they won't even know, what do you mean, established threat? The attorneys laid out in court in plain language that Tyler and his mother had been directly threatened with death threats by an individual who had violated a protective order. And the attorney went on to lay out in court that the individual was actually found guilty and convicted and sentenced for violating the protective order against Tyler Butler's mom. For the world, they need to hear, this happened approximately 24 hours before 3 or more masked criminals directed and targeted the home of that mother that I just spoke about and Tyler, their home. So for all of you out there listening that ever wanted to wonder, well, I mean, how did they know they were targeted? I just told you there had been a clear threat. There had been a violation of a protective order. There had been about a day that lapsed between the actual conviction and sentencing of this angry person. There had been a warning sent to the family that we're going to kill y'all and you really don't know who's coming. So what am I calling out? The threat was real. The threat had been recent, and the threat was legally documented. And so now let's talk about something else I heard myself in a public court, quoted by the lawyers on both sides. There had been 911 calls, Ms. Coles, 911. That is a number that we are always trained, told, and pretty much it's in our psyche to dial when we what? Need them. I said it. Call 911. There were calls played during court where I heard the voice of Tyler Butler's mother calling for help, believing she heard gunshots during a time of an attack against them in their community. And so there's something unique that came out in court. We understand that these masked criminals were actually in and over a locked privacy fence on the Butler's property. You heard me right. That's a criminal. These are masked criminals. Stop talking about pranksters. Nothing about masking yourself in the context of a crime is a prank. You're coming at around 3 a.m. under the cover of darkness, masked, breaching the Butler's property. Come on, people. Do you hear anything about all of the facts I've laid out that have been shared in court? Sounds like it's funny. If anybody listening can laugh because it's a joke, hey, why don't you write to Ms. Coles or me and tell me what part about it leaves you thinking it's a joke? Not only do I call that out, this is my feedback, my personal thoughts from hearing the statements shared in a public open court as Tyler Butler sat there hoping for justice, yes, in this broken system. Now, one of the things that I noted in my records was when a person called 911 leading up to and during an incident, how then does Tyler end up being the one to even confront in this way some mass criminals on their property? Isn't that weird? Mom called so that the police could intervene and locate these mass criminals. So you can say what you will. You can think what you want. But I don't know about you, but I would say law enforcement, when mom called, failed at that duty. Perhaps, and I said perhaps, these mass criminals hid from them. Guess what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the factual threats that this family had mere hours before. It doesn't change the factual fact that they were under extreme caution and they called for help. Now, there was audible evidence, Ms. Coles, that we heard. There was definitely that imminent threat we heard about. And so some would say, well, what's your conclusion, Ms. Lark? What are you getting at? Here's what I'm getting at. On May 25th, 2020, this system devalued the life of a Black man killed at the hands of a white officer, so much so that even with overwhelming evidence, they refused to charge Derek Chauvin. Pause and think about how, in lieu of Tyler Butler as a Black male, how quickly, even with all of what I laid out, they were to go and prosecute this Black man. You can say whatever you want to say. It doesn't change the fact that there is a pattern of prosecutorial discretion that is not favorable to Black people. And I don't know as much about Spotsylvania as Ms. Coles called out about maybe patterns of racism and discrimination and things of that sort. But I will tell you this was not a case about what? Criminal behavior at the hands of Tyler Butler. This is a clear case of how I can survive, how my mother can survive after we've called 911, when there are factual responses to real threat with lawful self-defense. I'm not going to twist it. I'm not going to turn it. I don't have to flop it. I can stand firmly on those facts of truth laid out in processes that were public in the court. And so any assertion from anyone that wants to try to contradict or ignore the clear evidence of danger and the documented history of threats for this family, shame on you for trying to use Tyler Butler as another scapegoat when it is clearly race related. It's clearly race related. And I want to say something, and I'm bold with what I say. While sitting in that courtroom, listening to what was laid out, if these same set of facts were present for a white individual, it would have been highly unlikely they would have been prosecuted or even considered to be prosecuted. And so what we're speaking to today, for anybody that's confused, we're just simply speaking to the bold disparities that have reared its ugly head with Tyler Butler, the bold disparities that reared its ugly head with George Floyd, the bold disparities that reared its ugly head with my son recently, Anton Brown, right here in Roanoke, where he was brutally attacked, and it was caught on video while delivering me, his mother, a bag of batteries for our school's bubble making machine. So I hope all the listeners and viewers, Ms. Coles, understand what this conversation is about today. We are commemorating the 5th year of George Floyd's death by speaking truth about current issues, speaking truth about facts to support justice. So if anybody that heard this can twist it how you will, but I stand firmly that the prosecution of this particular case that you brought up, Tyler Butler, is nothing more than a representation or another representation of a grave miscarriage of justice, especially in light of the racial disparities evident in these charging decisions. That's what I stand on. I sat and I heard, I went back and reviewed, and I even went as far as to support FOIA requests so that no one can say you're taking it out of context, you're misunderstanding. I would have been so bold as to say to you all that when someone just comes to your home spontaneously because they don't know you, and let's say you call 911 because it woke you up and you defend yourself, that is a different case than what we're talking about here. Do we hear? Are we really woke? Are we really woke? Because if you are woke, stay woke. If you were asleep, wake up and stay woke. Because there are times when there are cases, Ms. Coles, of criminal behavior that does require proper investigation, fact finding, and then you release and drop charges once those facts are present. And I am telling you that any assertion to the contrary ignores clear evidence of danger and, as I said earlier, documented history of threats. So this is not something this family would actually have to grab to say, ooh, let's dig around in the bag and see what we got. None of that. These things were already present with them. And my thoughts and prayers go out to that community, especially the Butler family and the other families that have been impacted by these three mass criminals breaking the law. Because let me tell you something I stand by. If these three mass criminals had not committed these crimes, their loved one would still be alive. Tyler Butler did absolutely nothing that any other individual would need to do. I didn't say might, would need to do if someone said, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you and your mother. I am going to send people in my family to kill you. Get real. Charges should be dropped based on that clear fact-finding material, factual evidence. Had that not been the case, I would then be waiting for facts to appear for justice. But that's not the case, because in order for me to have heard it with my ears, that means lawyers on both sides already know about the imminent threat that was with this family and the violation of the protection order that hurt this family, and that the person was free to roam and free to plan and free to sin. And there was three mass criminals on their property. And what better way to know that they were coming for you than to show up at your home? Let's get real. I don't think this family lives in a community where it's just one house on a prairie. Not true. There are many, 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 many homes. But their home was a direct choice of three mass criminals. And I don't need to go on and on, because what I've said, if you haven't caught it and you still have questions, you are in denial. That's one of the things I said, Ms. Coles, about when there is something you want to explain to somebody that hates you, you can talk all day. It's not going to change their mind. But you also have those that support justice. Well, you can talk all day and it will change their mind, because they love justice. And me and you, we love justice. Something often delayed to Black people, something often denied in the current system to Black people. But that doesn't change the fact that we are rooted in love. That doesn't change the fact that we're rooted on our belief that we can have justice, that we do deserve justice, that we stand for justice, that we demand justice, that we use our voice for justice. Yes, justice. Let justice reign.
That's right.
From the mountaintop to the valley low. Let justice reign all throughout Spotsylvania County, so that the hands of the prosecutor are forced to release Tyler Butler in lieu of the facts that I just spoke about. So to the Butler family, to George Floyd's family, to my family, to so many families directly impacted by the current broken justice system, let justice reign. I will, in that vein, would like to encourage your viewers and listeners with a song, if you don't mind. I'm going to come back on screen to sing.
Please, definitely.
Apologies.
Oh, no, you were just fine, honey.
Keep your eye on the prize and hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. We've had our hands on the plow of justice. We won't take nothing for our journey now. Keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your mind on the prize. Keep your eye on the prize of justice. And you all over the state, all over the nation, all over the world. You hold on. And I'm going to hold to God's unchanging hand. I'm going to build my hopes on things eternal. Because when I look out and I see the current brokenness in a system of man, I know my God can do what no other power can do. Amen. So keep your eyes on the prize. Don't turn away. Justice may be delayed, but the truth will live forever. And as long as the truth is on our side, then God is on our side. And we hope for all of these families as we commemorate the 5th year of May 25th, the horrifying death of George Floyd, captured on video. We stand boldly for justice. Thank you, Ms. Coles, for allowing me to raise my voice with you all today as we Let's Talk About It with Brenda Coles. Ms. Coles, I can't thank you enough for being a giant. You're not just a powerful person. You are a giant in the criminal justice world. You've always, I'll never forget when I called National Action Network years ago, because I could not find support here in my community in Roanoke. And this lady called me back, and it was your voice. And at that time, the lady, not you, but the other lady said, hey, is one president burying your state? And I will connect you to that person. And when you call back, I want every viewer and listener to know you showed up with vans with an S, plural, van loads of people, drove hours from Richmond without hesitation and delay to stand in support at that time of a young student who had been brutally attacked. I will never forget the giant that you are and the waves you made in our community, and how your allowing us to lift our voice gave a media impact that changed the trajectory of things for that family. We love you. We honor you. We know that this work isn't easy. We know that this work isn't something that we take lightly. It is so needed. And so, I can go on and on with the truth, but here we are in 2025, commemorating a sad day where George Floyd's life was snatched. And here in 2025, my son faced excessive force at the hands of police. No one has been charged. And here we are, Tyler Butler's family, now having to suffer at the hands of a flawed justice system. But I have hope. I have hope for my son's case and the Butler's case that justice will prevail and not act against us just because of the color of our skin. If I didn't have hope, then my voice would be vain. It would be no need to raise it. It would be no need to speak. But I do have hope. And I stand on that hope. And I walk by faith.
Bernie, I'm gonna tell you, I just want to thank you. I am glad that you are here with me today, and I'm always happy when you're with me in any capacity, because as I said to you before, I thank God that we got social justice leaders and civil rights leaders such as yourself, advocates such as yourself, that are coming behind me. A lot of times, when we've been doing this work for such a long time, you got people that don't know when to step away and let those behind us just come and lead. And you are truly a leader. You have taught me. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for bringing up, and I do apologize for that, because yes, it is being the 5th year for the death of George Floyd, and then also bringing that to help people understand what happened with your son, what happened with Tyra Chase Butler, and letting people understand we was there. You was there when and was able to videotape, even watching what the police was doing to your son. You would still had the wherewithal to be able to pull out your camera and videotape that in real time. And I don't think people understand the importance of that. That was able to get over 8 million views, so that something can be done. No, like you said, nobody has been charged yet, and we're gonna say yet. And then with Tyler Chase Butler, there is no reason that young man should be still sitting in jail as we speak today. It is unfortunate, and like I said, like you say, we're gonna have some hope because we were both there, and I was truly blown away, mind blown after hearing the evidence of what happened, what actually really happened with this family, and the threats that posed this family, as we know because we sit there and listen to it. And Bernadette, I want to thank you. I want to thank all my viewers today for tuning in to Let's Talk About It with Brenda Coles. I know once again I just certainly want to apologize for getting on late. I am still just learning about the podcast. It's just really about trying to make sure that we keep you informed. Not to say I'm tech savvy, because I'm not, but just thank you for certainly hanging in there. And until my son was able to let me know, and Bernadette, you let me know that we wasn't actually running at that time. But once again, I want to thank everybody was for Let's Talk About It with Brenda Coles. Bernadette, I want to ask you, do you have anything to say before we head out?
Just encouraging everyone, including you, to keep the hope. Keep the hope. Continue to walk by faith. We've always proven to be a resilient people, and I believe that because God is on our side. And I know delayed most certainly doesn't mean denied.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to thank everyone. I will be. We will have a video on. We will be seeing you on next Sunday. I do apologize, but on next Sunday at 2 p.m. with Let's Talk About It with Brenda Coles. As I said, there are going to be times when we'll do some live, and then there may be some times that it will be pre-recorded. But I just want to thank everyone certainly for joining us, and we will see you next week on Let's Talk About It with Brenda Coles. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Blessings.
Blessings.
Recording stop.